Our next story comes from Pakistan. Its iron brotherhood with China is corroding. And the reason is the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI. It is testing the China-Pakistan relationship. Let me explain how. Recently, Pakistan approached China. It wanted more investment, more infrastructure projects. And China said no. It doesn't want to put more money into CPEC. CPEC is the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC. It's the showpiece of Belt and Road. It's a massive infrastructure undertaking, a dream project for Xi Jinping and a debt trap for Pakistan. CPEC is one of the reasons why Islamabad needed a bailout. Pakistan took many loans. They were used to fund CPEC projects. But over the years, this debt became unsustainable. For perspective, let me give you a figure. 30% of Pakistan's debt is owed to China, 30%. As of February this year, Pakistan's external debt stood at about $100 billion. $100 billion, that's what they owe to the world. Out of this, $30 billion was owed to China. And a big chunk of this debt is due to CPEC. Pakistan owed about $10 billion to China just for the Gwadar port. This is as per an assessment in 2019. Now, all this debt led to Pakistan's economic collapse last year. But they don't seem to have learned any lessons. Despite the massive debt, Pakistan wants to expand CPEC. It wants more Chinese projects and, by extension, more Chinese loans. Now, what kind of projects are these? 4 categories have been identified: energy, climate change, power transmission lines, and tourism. Pakistan wants projects in these 4 sectors, and they also came with a list of locations: Gilgit-Baltistan, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, and some coastal areas of Pakistan. That's where they wanted Chinese investment. So Islamabad approached Beijing with a list. They had a meeting. China heard Pakistan's proposals, and it rejected all of them. We don't have access to Pakistan's complete wish list, but here's what we can tell you. One of the proposals was a transmission line, infrastructure to supply electricity. Pakistan wanted to build it for Gwadar. It proposed a 500 kilovolt line, starting from the Gwadar port and ending in Karachi. And Karachi is where Pakistan has its national power grid. So this transmission line would connect the Gwadar port to the national grid. It's a good idea on paper, but it did not fly because China refused to participate. The Pakistani press is discussing this. Reports say China is reluctant to put more money into Pakistan. They've already invested more than $60 billion into CPEC. They do not want to spend any more. Islamabad, on its part, has rubbished such reports. Recently, a statement was issued. It came from Pakistan's planning ministry. I have a copy of the statement. This is what it says. China and Pakistan are committed to expanding the scope of CPEC to include new areas of cooperation, such as water resources management, climate change, and tourism. So Pakistan insists that they will expand CPEC. And what has China said? Well, nothing so far, silence. And this is fueling more speculation. Do you know when this meeting happened, the one where these projects were discussed? This meeting took place in October 2022, 1 year ago. Officials from China and Pakistan met. They had significant disagreements. Their discussions continued into 2023, that is this year. And finally, in July this year, both sides gave up. That is when officials signed the minutes of the meeting. The minutes, as you would know, is the final summary of talks. It's an official record of the discussion. It describes what happened, who said what, and all kinds of details. Now, usually these minutes are wrapped up quickly, but in this case, it took 9 months because Pakistan continued to pursue China, and China refused to open the purse strings. You may ask why. What are Beijing's apprehensions? In the month of August, Xi Jinping had hailed CPEC. The project had completed 10 years, and the Chinese president spoke on the occasion. He said he wanted to work with Pakistan. He wanted to upgrade CPEC. But it seems Beijing has had a rethink because they face multiple challenges in Pakistan. The biggest one, of course, is political stability or the lack of it. Even though the army runs the country, their authority is being challenged. Pakistan should have gone to polls next month. Now it will have elections next year. Until then, a caretaker government is in charge. So now is not a good time to start new projects. China would want to see how the chips fall. Then there are issues like losses and debt. China is wary of making more bad bets. Many of their investments have already turned sour. For example, their power companies. Pakistan owes them a lot of money. about $1.2 billion as of 2022. And these are overdue payments. Do you know how Pakistan proposed to pay these bills, $1.2 billion? By taking more loans from China. As of last week, these bills were still pending. So China has not bailed out Pakistan. It does not want more losses. The second problem is security. Pakistan is not safe for the Chinese. They're being targeted by Pakistani militants. 2 months back, Chinese engineers were hit. Their convoy in Balochistan was attacked. Pakistan's military managed to repel the attackers. None of the Chinese workers were hurt there. But the others were not so lucky. Last year, there was a suicide bombing. It happened in Karachi. 3 Chinese teachers were killed.
This was a deliberate and premeditated suicide terrorist attack against Chinese citizens. The terrorists targeted teachers who are successors of the human civilization and facilitators of cultural exchange in a very bad and heinous manner. China expresses its strong condemnation and great indignation.
So Chinese nationals in Pakistan are under attack. Beijing wants more security. Islamabad is failing to provide it. Consider what happened recently. China's vice premier visited Pakistan in July. A special route was prepared for him. It was guarded by 2,700 policemen for the Chinese vice premier, 2,700 cops. But on the day of the visit, there was another attack, another suicide bombing. A political rally was targeted, 44 people died. The rally was in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. That's another key province for CPEC because China has put a lot of money there. They have multiple investments in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Was this attack linked to the visit? It is believed so. It was like a warning to Beijing, a warning against future investments. And China seems to be paying heed. It cannot do a U-turn here, but it can certainly go slow. And it can most certainly reject Pakistan's proposals.